Shalom from Jerusalem. My name is Albert Veksler, and we are here with answers for allies from our office in Jerusalem, Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast. So we are so thankful that you have tuned in, and I have a great friend with me, Frank Pesce, from New York originally, isn't it?
That's the truth.
Well, we had a great time while you were here in Israel. It's your last day here. You are flying out tonight, right?
That's right.
So you've experienced a different kind of Israel. I think it's not the usual Israel. I mean, for me, since October 7, nothing is the same. It's been so different in so many ways. The war, our son in the army. But how did you experience it?
Albert, is I don't know if putting it in words, if I could do justice to what I've experienced this time around. As a goodwill ambassador from the United States, I can tell you that we saw a very different side of Israel. And the desire of our heart was to come here from the United States to grab hold of the message of what is happening here and to bring it home and to communicate to people why Israel is so important, why it's peace, its prosperity, why it's wellness, why having a democratic partner in the Middle East is very important to us, a reliable democratic partner, a democratic partner that we can count on both economically, as a peace partner, as a partner in shared values, shared religions. I mean, it's been quite an experience. And I can tell you, we were very, very well received. Many people said to us, you guys are like heroes coming into the land.
It's true. It's very true. But you've also been, serving in the military. I mean, from the military standpoint, I think Israel is a very important partner for United States. Of course, we are receiving the top technology and weapons, but I think we also contribute to a lot of development here. Don't you think so?
No question about it. This year, Israel was ranked as the 4th most powerful military in the world. And it's a small military, but its technology, its battlefield know-how, its experience it's bar none. It's one of the best in the world. The United States, if it's wise, it will continue to partner militarily, diplomatically, economically with Israel. I don't know how accurate this data is today, but a few years back, I looked at the data that comes out of Israel regarding patents. At that time, it was something like 27,000 patents a year were coming out of Israel, whereas 12,000 patents a year were coming out of the United States. If you look at Nobel Peace Prizes and things like this, it's Israel and the Jewish people are major contributors. I mean, at levels that,
It's 21%. It's as strange as it would sound. It's as if the Jewish people, were 21% of the world population.
Right.
We are even not a 1%. It's a 0.5%, I think, of the world population. But we have seen, of course, some amazing things developed in this country. The startup nations, the stories. If you study the success stories of the startup companies and the people, the entrepreneurs that have started these small companies that basically revolutionize the industry, the whole industry, they come from a very personal and sometimes very painful place in their life. Like there's a doctor who became paralyzed, and so that's why he created this
like an exoskeleton or something
thing, that helps people who are, confined to the wheelchairs, and this drip irrigation story. I mean, you have so many things, but again, the reason sometimes it sounds almost incredible, but there's a suffering that brings out this creative thought that revolutionizes the industry afterwards. And so I'm hoping something good is coming out also of this experience that Israel is having with the war on terror.
Right. Well, mother is a necessity of all invention. We know that. I really would like to just speak to the sense and the fact that, somebody, if they take a stand against Israel, they're actually shooting themselves in the foot. The opportunities that exist in partnering with Israel are, you just talked about it. You talked about the startups. You talked about the technology that comes out of here. One of the things that I would like to see is I would like to see bridges built, relationships established, where Americans, Westerners, people from all over the world would make investment into this country. Since I've been here, I've heard, particularly, oddly enough, lots of people from Africa, diplomats and ambassadors from Africa, wanting to partner with Israel, wanting to make investment here. I know you have Jacob on your show. I know that he talks about that. I'm pretty sure he'll be talking to you again here soon. This is the wise and the smart thing to do. So before people take a political cause up, they should think about the implications of that, because Israel is a place that it's unparalleled almost to anywhere in the world. We talked about the data. We talked about the things that come out of here tech-wise, 21% of the Nobel Peace Prizes again and again. I mean, the opportunities are vast in this country.
But Israel is also hope for not just the free world, but for the church.
That's right.
I mean, we spoke about it earlier also, that Israel is the fulfillment of God's promise. I mean, it's a proof that God keeps his covenant. So if God doesn't keep his covenant to the Jewish people, why would he keep his covenant to the Christians? And so whatever happens in Israel kind of spills over to the church. 1948, 1967, 1973, we had these very, very difficult wars. I mean, the Independence War, the Six-Day War, a 73-year Yom Kippur War. At the same time, you can see how there were movements in the church that were started exactly in 1948,
Revivals,
1967, 1973, 1987. I mean, Russia starts to, after 70 years, allows the Jews to go back home and experiences a major revival. The dark country, the dark empire, evil empire, like Reagan said, suddenly sees the light. It was actually Richard Nixon, President Nixon, who said, he was asked that, is Israel contributing to any strategic interests of the United States? And he said no. But he said it's morally right to support Israel. It's much bigger than this strategic or financial interest. So I think it is bringing us to a much bigger picture.
It is a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that I found, whether I was in a cab, whether I was at a restaurant, whether I was talking to a vendor, Arab, Christian, or Jew, everybody wanted to talk about the value of the Holy Land in terms of its religious sites and the experiences, the shared experiences that we have here. I talked to a man today. He found us in the street. He said, "Hey, I'm an Armenian Christian. Let me show you some things." He took us up to the highest point in the old city, and he started pointing out all the things. He said, over there, that's the, Via Dolorosa, that's the road. That's the road to Damascus. That's the Holy Church of the Sepulchre. That's where Christ would have been crucified. That's where the Torah was, housed. The Ark of the Covenant was there. He said, and there, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, that's where, the Muslims say that Muhammad made his ascension. Everybody has a claim on this land, and everybody wanted to talk about the religious value of this land. This is not an afterthought here. This is front and center for people, and this is why this land is so important. It's spiritually and physically fought over. It's Well,
I'm picking up something that I think it's even hard to think right now about this, because we're in a war. We are seeing horrible things daily. I mean, it's painful.
Of course.
But I think we will come out on a much better situation, like much better standing after this war. There's something in me, I can sense that Israel will not just come out victorious. We will be able to prove that it is possible to overcome terrorism. I studied history a lot, as I did my bachelor's and master's degree in Hebrew University. But there was something, our professors were so left-leaning. So the first Lebanese war was something that they could never say a good word about it. Never. Right. And yet, that war forced PLO out of southern Lebanon and into Tunisia. I mean, this war actually accomplished
Right.
something. The terror was removed. And I really believe that we will see the same. Because, see, that's the problem with the world. There is hopelessness. They
Right.
don't think even that it is possible to deal with this terrorist threat. And I think Israel will contribute and give a lesson that, yes, it is possible.
Yeah, the narrative is definitely that terrorism can never be overcome by physical means. In the United States, for instance, we talked about this last time I was on your show. When we went into the war on terror, they told us this would be a 100-year war. This would be a multi-generation war. We cannot ever overcome this. The best that we can do is be preemptive and hope to protect ourselves from being exposed. I will say the United States has been pretty successful at preventing, any further terrorist attacks on any size or scale after 9/11. And you obviously remember our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, what those occupations looked like. But that message, to me, was put forth not to give people hope. It was to give people a sense of this is going to be regular so that we can, build theaters where we can, move investments, let's just say.
But go ahead.
Israel, if anybody can do it, if anybody can prove to the world that militarily, strategically, politically, in any which way, it will be Israel. They will do it. You've already talked about how PLO was moved out of here. Hamas will be next. They have to be. People have no idea how sinister and how violent and how gruesome they are. They want to cut the hearts out of children. They cut babies out of women's wombs while they were alive. The stories that I heard from people who lived it, from Serot and from down in the south, I mean, oh my God, it's a miracle that those kids are alive. And I'm going to put a little bit on my social media about the interview that I had with those two young guys who they had nothing but just gratitude to be alive, but they were, they're hurt. They're hurt about what happened. Hamas came to their door dressed in in Israeli military and Israeli police uniforms, and they used Hebrew and said, open the door, we're the army, we want to help you, and dragged these people out of their home and murdered them in cold blood. And if you look at the videos and the faces and the tactics that they use, this is inhumane. This is demonic. This is from the pits of hell, and it cannot stand. Why would anybody want to agree with that? How? How could you agree with that in any way?
And somehow it actually, what can I say, stroke an accord in many, many hearts. I mean, the demonstrations pro-Hamas and pro-Palestinian demonstrations didn't start with Israeli land incursion. They started after October 7. It was
immediately after.
So something was stirred up. So something was actually stirred up within people's hearts. They liked it. But I think what we are seeing here is the resolve that Israel is showing. And I think
unified.
And here is the thing. I think the West has been lacking this resolve. And Israel is now showing this resolve. And somehow you see that also there were, the German Chancellor came, of course, President Biden, UK Prime Minister Sunak, Czech, Hungarian president came. You have the leaders of the Western countries that came, and they see this resolve, and it somehow created some kind of a new unity that yes, we can, and we have to fight this darkness. We have to stand against this darkness.
I'm glad that Israel is doing that. I know that there are voices in the West that are trying to, bring about conditions of limitations upon Israel. But I'm glad that Israel is saying, you know what, we'll take care of our own business. And I'm glad that they have had the wherewithal and the political will to be able to communicate that message, to continue to execute this war with justice and with vigilance, even at the behest of the Western voices that have risen up from whatever different governments. I want to point out something as well that I think the world needs to know. I think the world thinks that Israel is like this monolithic society of just white Jews. This is an incredibly diverse country. Okay, there are Arabs, there are Africans, there are Asians, there are Jews from the Sephardic Jews, there are Ashkenazi Jews.
Frank, Jews from 100 nations.
100 nations, 100 nations. So, before anybody wants to take up a cause and say this is, white lives versus brown lives, they really need to take a look at
That's a good point.
Right? Because, come on. And why would you want to stand against, the promises and the covenant that God has made with this land? The fact that the Jews even exist as a people group today is a miracle in and of itself. Study it out, and then
Well, but think of this, Ethiopian Jews.
Love them.
Well, these are the only black people that were brought to freedom, not to slavery.
On Shabbat, I heard a message from an Ethiopian Jew that just, oh my God, it was awesome. And, it's the diaspora brought Judaism to all over the world, right? After Rehoboam reigned, and Ephraim was cast in dispersion, and Judah and Benjamin remained in the land, and then eventually went into captivity in Babylon, Judaism went to every corner of the earth.
Well, that's the foundation of the Judeo-Christian worldview and values. But I'm just thinking about also all of our European friends. See, we're planning a Jerusalem prayer breakfast in Stockholm in April.
I'll be there, you know that.
4 and 5.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that you plan to come. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be powerful. But you see, Europe is facing a very similar threat, and they need their eyes open. They need to understand that they're dealing with not just a different kind of a culture, like they want to put it, a multiculture. It's not a different kind of culture.
It's a dominating culture.
It's not just even a dominating culture. It is a very dangerous spirit that poses itself as religion, a peace-loving religion, but it carries a goal that is totally incomprehensible, and that's what we need to understand and face.
Here's the silver lining about this generation, Gen Z and millennials and people like this. They want to get behind a cause. They want to feel like that they are making an impact. This is not a generation that wants to go to work and collect a pension. This is a generation of people that want to align themselves with something bigger and greater than themselves. We need to be advocates. I invite people who are watching here who this cause is resonating with. You need to be an advocate for the right things. It doesn't necessarily have to be Israel, but you need to choose what is right, and you need to advocate for that. The choice is simple here. The choice is simple. Darkness, light, life, death. What are we doing here? So as we, face the zeitgeist, right, the spirit of this age, we need to be really discerning. We really need to be discerning, because the choices that we make have a real consequential effect on how we live and how others live, and the generations after us will live too.
And we, of course, want to call upon you all to continue to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. You see, the Bible says that He has placed watchmen, and the Hebrew word placing these watchmen is depositing. So God has deposited His watchmen on the walls of Jerusalem. And He says day and night they will cry out to Him, call unto Him, until He makes Jerusalem praise in the earth. Because this is what God wants. He wants this to be a city of truth. He wants this to be the city of a great king. It is. I mean, it's the calling of the city. It's His dwelling place. Zion is the place He is yearning for and longing after, and He said that He has chosen this place. I mean, you can just read all these 600 plus references about Jerusalem in the Bible, and you realize it's a special place. So from this city, from Jerusalem, we are sending a blessing over to you. Yes. Remember that praying for the peace of Jerusalem, and those who love Jerusalem will prosper. And from our hearts, from the heart of Jerusalem, we are sending a blessing over to you. Shalom, and tune in again. See you soon.